Watches, knives, chocolate, secret bank accounts, and a red dominant camouflage? Today we delve into Switzerland's Leibermuster Camo, aka Alpenflage. Although this is a rather interesting camo, and the story behind it is as well, it is a little short. That being said, I'm going to use a bit of the extra time to briefly talk about the styles of uniform that had the Leibermuster Camouflage printed onto it. Switzerland, a small country nestled in Central Europe that has remained neutral for well over 100 years now. However, this seemingly quiet country has long taken great efforts in keeping their military well-equipped, well-trained, and ready at a moment's notice. After the end of World War II and the defeat of Nazi Germany, large amounts of gear and equipment found its way to various countries around the world. The most common things seen were small arms and helmets. But one of the more interesting and mysterious examples was that of the Leibermuster Camouflage. This pattern didn't see much action as it began being issued in small numbers towards the end of the war. We'll cover this German camouflage in greater detail in a future video, but to make things short, only a few examples of this camouflage survived the war. So with so few uniform pieces left intact, how did the Swiss get their hands on it and make it into their official issued pattern? Well, there are a few rumors, but the main one goes like this. After the war, some machines used to print the pattern found their way to Czechoslovakia, which helped the creation of their Duby reversible pattern. From there, they ended up in Switzerland, where the pattern was played around with briefly and then began being printed once more, starting in 1955 and finally being adopted in 1957. The pattern was then labeled as the TAZ 57 or TAS 57 camouflage. TAZ, spelled T-A-Z, being short for Tarnanzug in German, and TAS, T-A-S-S, being short for Tenue d'Assaut in French. Both roughly translate to combat or military uniform. It has also been referred to as Kampfanzug 57, which means battle dress in German. Troops also gave it the nickname of Vierfrucht Pyjama, or four fruit pajamas. Regardless of the many names, this pattern consists of 6 colors: a light red, a dark red, black, tan, green, and white. When looking at this camouflage, you may be thinking, who in their right mind would issue, let alone wear, a red dominant camouflage? Well, the original reason for this was that the Germans had designed it with infrared concealment abilities, as well as to be able to blend in well in the autumn season, when trees die and leaves fall. Here is one such example of it blending effectively. Over the next 26 years, the main pattern would see some variations in shape size and shading differences. There has been some talk that there are actually 3 main patterns, the difference being the size and orientation of the shapes. Each one had numerous variations as well. However, there were a few major variations, such as a green dominant version seen on covers for the M1918 helmet, a semi-blue-green dominant version seen on certain bags and shelter halves, and a helmet cover where the green shapes were actually a vibrant aqua blue. It's worth noting that there are quite a few different helmet covers out there. Supposedly the covers were made from both proper pattern samples as well as defective or misprinted ones. In addition to the standard combat uniforms, the pattern would also be used for ponchos, tanker crew overalls, and small bags. As for the actual uniforms, commonly referred to as the M70, even though they began being issued back in the early 60s, were rather interesting. Consisting of 3 main parts, the jacket, pants, and backpack, this uniform was made to carry all the equipment a soldier would need without using an external belt and shoulder suspension system. The whole system was integrated so much so that the backpack even clipped directly to the jacket. It even had a hood with a roll-down sniper veil. In the description below, you can find a link to a breakdown of the M70 and what each pouch was used for. There are quite a few versions of the M70. Generally, the differences come down to material, canvas, denim, duck cloth, base color in the camouflage, and differences in parts and cuts of the actual uniform. One could say the M70 was pretty much the Swiss Army knife of military uniforms.
That's the joke.
Then, in 1983, a new uniform for non-combat troops was introduced, and the pattern was renamed TAZ 83. Though there was really no change in the camouflage pattern itself, the new uniform saw the removal of the whole built-in aspect, going for a more streamlined, modern look. Around this time also saw the introduction of a camouflaged hat, rain jacket, and fragmentation vest. This pattern would be used up until 1993 when it was reworked and replaced by the TAZ 90, which we'll be covering in our next video. Today, this pattern is still technically used by the Swiss Armed Forces. It is occasionally seen on parade and can be spotted being used by reserve forces. Since its replacement, this pattern has become readily available on the surplus market, leading collectors to nickname it Alpenflage and Alpentarn because of the Swiss Alps. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to subscribe. Also stay tuned for part 2, where we talk about the woodland and desert successors to the TAS 57, TAS 90 and TAS 07.